one New Yorker with a passion for historic clocks. Plus, after being buried for 5,000 years, the Iceman is being recreated for the 20th century. It's all ahead. Now, back to your host, Boyd Matson, and National Geographic Explorer.
Down in the Calypso Isles, they like to say that anytime they open their mouths, a story jumps out. At least that's the word from master storyteller Paul Keynes Douglas, who's always ready to spin one about the tiger cat or the white-winged vampire. In our next film, we'll hear some of the tales that the islanders have woven to give special meaning to the creatures that roam the forest and to the mournful howls that come out of the night. It all happens once upon a time off the coast of Venezuela, in the West Indies, on the twin islands of Trinidad and Tobago.
The unfolding story of the Caribbean is echoed by the waves that crash on the beaches and by the wind that blows in the trees. But in the twin isles of Trinidad and Tobago, we tell our own tales of the creatures who live here and of the fearsome spirits or Jumbies who protect them. Every year, we celebrate the beauty of our islands, our wildlife, and our folklore spirits in what we call the greatest show on earth, Carnival. When you've had enough of the noise and madness of Carnival, it's always nice to come back to the peace and quiet of the forest. Of course, many people are scared of the forest and the animals and the spirits they hear so much about, but that's mostly because they don't take the time to learn about them, especially the folk tales. Now, in Trinidad and Tobago, we love storytelling. Just say crick-crack, tim-tim, or once upon a time, and everybody knows it's story time. Of course, our stories are all about the animals, the forest, the trees, you know, because we have plenty of those. So sit back, and I'll tell you some stories, some strange stories my mother told me. Once long ago, our home was the most beautiful part of South America. But one day, as if to protect it forever, the sea rose up to cut off 2 virgin islands covered in lush forests and filled with all the creatures that had roamed the lands of which the islands were once a part. One of the gods, hearing of the island's beauty, came to visit, taking an earthly form, half man, half beast. He fell in love with the beautiful islands and decided to make the forests his home. He talked to the birds, listened to their troubles, healed the sick, cared for the orphans, and came to be known as Papa Bois, guardian of the forests. And today they say he still lives here, but you may not see him, for he can take the form of many different animals, like the tiger cat or ocelot. He can also take the form of a forest deer. or even a tree, the towering silk cotton tree. From here, he keeps watch over the woods and the creatures that he loves so much. His favorites were always the flashing hummingbirds, the wisest and swiftest creatures of the forest. They were also special to the Meso Indians who canoed down the great rivers of South America and out to these islands. They believed that in death, their souls would return to the land of their origins as hummingbirds. Papa Bois let the Indians stay while they respected his home, but they soon became greedy and killed the birds for their brilliant feathers. The dark side of Papa Bois was awakened for the first time, and the islands shuddered with his anger. He made the very earth bubble and boil, and molten pitch and liquid mud poured down on the Indians' homes and drowned them. Today, the mud volcanoes remain as a brooding reminder of the dark forces of the land and the folly of making Papa Bois mad. But the animals were untouched by his fury. And even the shyer creatures of Trinidad's lush forest can still be found there. Red howler monkeys live here, and we have plenty stories about them. We say a smart person has one more trick than a monkey, and that monkey know which tree to climb, for he always seems to know where to find food. And if the monkey drops a piece of fruit, other creatures are waiting down below, ready to eat it up. And there's some who wouldn't give it back. The peccary or quenk is not a creature to mess with. It's a big, strong, wild pig and lives in groups that stick together. Now, quenks can be very fierce, and if they threaten you, it's best you take them serious, or you could be in trouble. In fact, in Trinidad, someone who gets mad easily and makes threats gets called a quenk, but not always to their face. But young quenks get lots of care from their mothers and even from other quenks. They soon learn that they have to smell just right to be accepted in the best circles. And the quenk is a really smelly animal. They even go to the trouble of rubbing their scent onto one another as hard as possible. For quenks that smell right are treated as friends. And like all Trinidadians, as well as being friendly, they know how to relax when they can. But relaxing too much is risky. There are hunters about, and the bad ones often kill far more than they need to. The animals sometimes hear them too late. But they say that one forest dweller never sleeps. Papa Bois is always watching and listening. If the hunters get too close to his friends, he sounds a warning. When the animals have reached safety, Papa Bois' job is done.
When we return, a local version of
The greater thing about Everest is in people's minds.
It's a mountain that you regard with considerable respect.
Of course, Papa Bois takes care of all the animals in the forest, especially when there's too much hunting. He hates that. But if you come to the forest to enjoy its beauty and to learn about its animals, he likes that. They say Papa Bois sees everything. He has eyes and ears throughout the forests. And sometimes he hides in the strangest places, like this silk cotton tree. You see this silk cotton tree? Some people say it's the favorite meeting place of all the spirits. You find it in every ghost story in Trinidad and Tobago. They say it's haunted, maybe because some of them are hollow and make strange sounds. Well, I don't know much about that, but I can tell you this. Not many people will hang around a silk cotton tree on a dark night. Besides ghosts and jumbies, there are plenty other dangers lurking around this tree. Even insects shouldn't hang about, for all kinds of strange creatures come out to hunt at night. And this is not make-believe. They call this animal the false scorpion, and although it's only after insects, it seems frightening enough. The real thing, though, can be far worse. They say the poison in a scorpion's tail can kill a child and makes even big people get sick. But scorpions are not really a problem if you watch out for them. Now, you would think that crickets would learn not to wander around this tree at night, especially where there's silk about. Or maybe they should learn that not everything that's furry is safe to approach. But they just keep right on walking into danger. Tarantulas here as big as your hand, and they move fast. But it's not you they're after. So there's no need to get frightened unless you interfere with them. Deep inside the silk cotton tree once lived perhaps the most feared creatures of all. Vampire bats. They had the sharpest teeth of any animal on the islands, and they knew how to use them. Each night, they left the tree in search of blood. Vampire bats are rare now, living in a few remote caves. But when people first came to the mountains, they made life easy for the bats because they brought cattle, which the bats loved to suck. Vampire bats are so skillful that their victims don't even notice them slicing their skin or sniffing around their ankles. under the cover of darkness, the vampires begin to feed. And there's another bat, the white-winged vampire, with a taste for different blood. It prefers birds, and chickens or fowls sleeping in trees, as they often do here, smell just right to this bat. The fowls usually keep on sleeping, but sometimes they wake up to a nasty surprise. Now, don't get frightened. Over 60 kinds of bats live in these islands, and only 2 suck blood, and you hardly ever see them now. The rest do a great job eating up insects and spreading seeds. But you always hear stories about blood-sucking vampires in the old days. But the mark of the vampire was often put down to even darker causes. In Trinidad and Tobago, anytime someone sees you with a red mark on your neck, or your hand, or your foot, the first thing they will say is, "Sukuya sucked you." Now, this Sukuya is supposed to be a little old woman who could take off her skin and fly at night like a ball of fire across the sky and come and suck the blood from you like Dracula when you're sleeping. They say the only way to catch a Sukuya is to scatter grains of rice all around your house. The Sukuya must stop to count every grain before she leaves. And if the sunrise ever catch her, she dies. Now, plenty people tell me how they see Sukuya, flying in the night, balls of fire. Other people say it's not Sukuya. It could be marsh gas, or fireflies, or even UFOs. But you see me, I'm not taking any chances, because strange things go on in this country on a dark night. When you see bats, it's then you must look out for the most fearsome Jumbee of all, the Lajabless, or devil woman. Is always a pretty woman with a long dress. And if she smiled to call you, don't ever go, or your day's done. Now you can always tell a Lajabless, since she have one good foot and one cow foot, the mark of the evil one. So always make sure and check a woman's foot before going out with her, or she could lead you to a precipice, and when she turns, it's a different story. For the Lajabless can turn into a quink, and then it's over the precipice for you.
Next, though strikingly beautiful, some island snakes can be deadly, so pay heed to the local tales of serpentine denizens. After this on TBS.
Could frighten you. The owl is known as the Jumbi Bird, and when it calls, someone is supposed to die. But the creature most likely to die is the pomy one, the silky anteater, since it is the favorite food of the spectacled owl, who does listen out for it all the time. Now, people say the sad cry you hear in the swamps at night is the mourning of lost spirits. Others say it's the pomy one, but really it's the call of the nighthawk, the potu. So you can't believe everything you hear. But you know what they say, mouth open, story jump out. Now, people always saying how they see strange lights in the forest, that it could be sukuya or some other kind of jumbie. But really, most times it's just candlefly. A big beetle with a takeoff light and a flying light for showing off to other candleflies. Geckos make odd noises at night, and some people think it's Jumbees calling and hide under the sheets. But these lizards are harmless and eat up plenty insects around your house. But what people afraid most is the 24-hour lizard. They say it jumps on you and sticks so tight you just need a hot iron to take it off. Otherwise, in 24 hours, you're dead. But that's just talk. Now, we have plenty frogs in these islands that sit around in the swamps at night, and many people fear them and say they can spit in your eye to blind you. But there's no proof of that either. No, there is one animal whose skin is covered with evil-looking lumps and bumps, and they say that snakes suck it to get its poison. It is the fat toad, or crapo. Now, this story may sound crazy, but if snake did bite crapo, the crapo might escape with just a few teeth marks, as it tastes so bad. Perhaps the strangest animal of all is the tree porcupine. It's a creature much feared on account of its terrible quills. There are many stories of animals with magical powers, and witch doctors and obeah men who know how to use them. Take these porcupine quills, for instance. Some people say they can cure toothache. Others say they are good for all sorts of evil things. Well, I may not know much about that. But you know what they say? Something may not be true, but there could be a lot of truth in it. I believe that one should not really know too much about things that one cannot understand. Even crabs have their story. They say that if one comes to your yard at night, you must never catch it, for somebody could have sent it to bring you bad luck. But most crabs have to be careful at night, especially in the swamps. For there's one animal that comes looking for them, and the crabs know they must hide. But the mangrove dog or crab-eating raccoon doesn't give up easily. Even when it's found the crab, it still has to avoid the claws. And if you have ever been bitten by a crab, you'll know what I mean. Once the big claw is removed, the rest is easy. And there's nothing here quite like fresh crab meat. Even the crabs that escape are not safe though, for their burrows attract another skillful hunter. The crab catcher knows how a blue crab loves a piece of coconut. The mangrove swamps where the crab catchers hunt are crawling with life. Tree climbing crabs scuttle over the roots. And the mud is alive with other kinds of crab. Fiddler crabs. Now these show-offs are all males trying to get a female to join them in their burrows. This performance goes on all over the swamp on a big scale and a small scale. They're so keen on dancing that they don't even stop while they eat. A bit like us in Carnival. But it's always best to be alert. All the time they're showing off, not only other crabs might be watching, and herons don't miss much. The Scarlet Ibis is our national bird, and its brilliant color has made life hard for it in the past, because some people love the feathers more than the bird. The ibis has always been hunted and needs all the help it can get. But parts of the swamp are a sanctuary now, and when the birds are there, they know they should be safe. Out of the swamp and into the forest live creatures that, in secrecy and speed, are a real threat to the people who journey there. Now there are many snakes in the forest, and some, like the Lance or Mapipi, are deadly, and they hide so well that you hardly ever see them. But they see you. If you come too close, though, they always give a warning, rattling their tails in the leaves, and it's best you listen to them. There's even a saying here: if snake come out of bush and say he there, which means believe what you hear and take care. Old people say the horsewhip snake likes to find a pregnant woman to beat. No, that's just old talk, of course. But you should believe its warning. It's not poisonous, but it can bite. The bright colors of the coral snake are warning enough. But sometimes children pick up this little snake thinking it's a necklace. And in biting to protect itself, the snake can kill. So children should be taught to leave it alone. Apart from the snakes, you always hear talk with all kinds of dangers hiding in the deep, dark caves of Trinidad. The fearful sounds that came from them were once thought to be the laments of departed souls, echoing from the depths of the underworld, and only the bravest men would enter. They found plenty bats inside, and much larger winged creatures hovering and screaming. The jablotins, or Devilbirds. These dreaded caves were black as night, but today, a new magic, a camera that sees infrared light, invisible to the eye, shows them making loud clicking sounds and listening to the echoes to find their way around. They are true creatures of the night, with owl-like faces and huge eyes, and they only leave their caves after dark. When they return, they find their way in total darkness to their own nests. Their only food is the oily fruit of palms and other trees, and their chicks grow slowly, but very fat on this diet. The young ones were once gathered and boiled down for their oil, which is why they are now known as oil birds. But Trinidad has plenty of oil these days, and these rare birds, known only from this island and a few countries in Central and South America, are safe as long as the forests where they feed and the caves where they live remain. The birds cough up the huge seeds of forest trees which sprout and grow. But those that fall within the cave wither in the darkness. Every corner of these islands, from the shadowy caves to the sunlit forests, is filled with creatures. And though we fear some, there's a place for all. And though it's easy to take it all for granted, the beauty of our home, the forests, and their creatures should always be celebrated in every possible way. And it does not matter if you believe in Papa Bois or not. What is important is that you love his creatures the same way that he does. You know, the old storytellers did a good job. Because in telling the story of Papa Bois, the forest, and his friends, they also helped to preserve those same forests and friends. And today, the storytelling still continues in the Carnival, the many faces of Carnival. And if you look very hard, you may just be able to see Papa Bois.
Friday, Saturday, every day.
And just as the delicate costumes of Carnival dance for a few brief days, so too is the beauty around us fragile. But in the same way that Carnival is reborn every year, so too, with enough care, can the forests continue to bring forth new life. As long as the forest tales can still be told, the spirit of Papa Bois will keep on watching and keep on dancing.
Fine.